this paper represents a child's education and learning environment while being homeschooled. And you see this paper. This paper represents a child's education and learning environment while being in regular school. I'm just going to take this, crumple it up, throw it on the ground. You see that? That's trash. And trash is what a child's education will become if they go to regular school. Over years, the problems of regular schooling have been rising, as bullying and education issues have been increasing. Homeschooling all started with a movement in the 70s. It began with John Holtz, an educational theorist. He began arguing that regular schooling focuses on learning by memorization. He believed that this creates a harsh classroom environment designed to make children compliant employees. Ever since this, the number of kids being homeschooled has been increasing. People are finally realizing how effective this option of schooling really is. The big question seems to be, should parents homeschool their children? I believe the answer is yes. Parents should homeschool their children because it attends to children's needs on a personal level. Homeschooling focuses on learning, not grades, and homeschooling creates a safer learning environment than traditional schooling. Today I will be informing you on why homeschooling is a better option of schooling than regular schooling. Do you actually learn in school? How can you learn properly when you're surrounded by kids who are at a higher and lower level than you, and the teacher is trying to teach them at the same time as teaching you? As you see by this picture, in a traditional classroom, there's about 30 students, give or take. And the teacher can try their best, but in the end, they can't possibly attend to every educational need of every single student in that classroom. That brings up the question again, can you actually learn in school? Can you actually learn when the teacher rushes and may not attend to your needs? Traditional learning leads to some children being confused and not being confident on the subject they just learned. Homeschooling, on the other hand, is different. As you see by this picture, homeschooling attends to children's needs on a personal level. It's all about individual learning and one-on-one tutoring. According to the HSLDA, Homeschool Legal Defense Association, the U.S. Department of Education's National Center for Education Statistics released a report on the number of homeschool students in the U.S. It concludes that, as you see in this graph right here, that about 1,770,000 students are being homeschooled in the U.S. right now. As you see in this graph, in 1999, there was only about 850,000 students being homeschooled, and in 2011, there was about 1.7 million. That number has risen greatly over about 10 years, and that's because people are finally realizing the effectiveness of homeschooling. And this was from 2011, so I'm sure now in 2018, that number has even gotten bigger than that. In homeschooling, parents create educational plans personalized to their children's educational needs. This type of personalized learning is benefiting children in the long run. According to BusinessInsider.com, research suggests homeschool children tend to do better in standardized tests, stick around longer in college, and do better once they're enrolled. The 2009 study showed that the proportion of homeschoolers who graduated from college was about 67%, while among public school students, it was 59%. And in this graph, you can see these are SAT scores from 2001. And there's a big difference between the scores from homeschoolers and public schoolers, because the homeschoolers scored an average of about 526 on their math part of the SAT, while public schoolers only got 510 average. And then the major difference happens in the verbal part, where homeschoolers got an average of 566 and public schoolers got an average of 502. So that's about a 60-point difference in the schooling scores. This furthermore proves individualized techniques of homeschooling is making a difference. In homeschooling, parents will be able to ensure that their child understands a concept and is able to master it before they move on. But in regular schooling, the teacher will just teach a lesson and move on, even if some of the students don't understand what's going on, because they have to cater to a class full of 30 students, not just one. In homeschooling, the parent is constantly aware of their child's strengths and weaknesses and learning how to improve their education. Homeschooling really is the better option of schooling. Superglue. It bonds two things together. It's a strong substance that combines two things and makes them unbreakable and stronger. Homeschooling is like superglue in a way. It takes a parent and a child and bonds them together through communication and interaction. This makes both of them much stronger, just like superglue does to items. A healthy family relationship. That's something that every family strives to have. Homeschooling is a great way to bring families together. When parents homeschool, they become primary role models for their children. Homeschooling is also a great way to prevent premature parent-child separation and avoid inappropriate pressure on children. Parents get the opportunity to be with their children all day and spend quality time with them, and they begin to know and understand their child and become very influential in their lives, even when they become teenagers. Rebellious and destructive behavior often begins to disappear when homeschooling begins. According to CT Homeschool Network, Inc., since parents can easily monitor their children's progress as well as get involved in the learning process, relationships between parents and homeschool children are stronger. This also improves communication between parents and children at a young age, and kids are less prone to alienating themselves from family in favor of friends. Overall, homeschool greatly enhances family relationships through interaction and communication. Some may say regular schooling may improve social skills, but children can always participate in recreational activities and sports to gain social skills, and not all the social skills you learn in school are good, since there can be a lot of bullying and poor behavior from the other children. Dr. Raymond Moore, author of over 60 books and articles on human development, has done research on homeschooling and socialization. He concluded that the idea that children need to be around many other youngsters in order to be socialized is perhaps the most dangerous and extravagant myth in education and child rearing today. When in large groups, children often do not respond well to their environment. They become nervous and overexcited by noise and too many people. After analyzing over 8,000 childhood studies, Dr. Moore concluded that contrary to popular belief, children gain the best socialization skills from their parents and not other children. Another point some may make is that parents may not be qualified to be a homeschool teacher. But in some states, there are many qualifications needed to be followed before you can be a homeschool parent. And a homeschool environment is also different than a traditional school environment in many ways. As a homeschool parent, you don't necessarily have to teach your children, but instead help them learn, which means parents don't have to be extremely qualified to homeschool. When you are teaching children, you must know the subjects you are teaching them. But when parents homeschool, they facilitate their child's learning, which means they use resources that help them and their child learn together. In a school setting, teachers are sending information to their students. In a homeschool setting, an environment of learning is made so that everyone is learning, including the parent. Bullying. It's an issue schools have been facing for years. Children are constantly being harassed, made fun of, and have been feeling out of place at school. But bullying is not the only problem in a traditional school environment. Peer pressure and negative influence are also a problem too. As you can see in this graph from a 2016 study about homeschooling, the number one reasons parents have been wanting to homeschool their children is for a concern about environment of other schools. Homeschooling creates a safer learning environment because children don't have to deal with these problems. Traditional schooling brings negative effects onto children, negative effects onto their behavior, and negative effects onto their learning environment. According to Sunlight.com, children in schools are more prone to bullying and peer pressure, and even misbehaving teachers. In a homeschooling environment, children can be themselves without having the fear of being teased or ridiculed by both classmates and teachers for who they are. This results in a more independent and confident child. Homeschoolers don't have to deal with all the negative effects of being around kids in a toxic school environment. There are many people who argue that these downsides are actually helping kids toughen up. But kids who are bullied often face symptoms of depression and anxiety. They also tend to do worse in class and show up to school less frequently. Homeschooled kids are able to learn better since they are in a more harmless environment. Now you see why this perfectly nice sheet of paper represents homeschooling, and that paper represents trash, aka regular schooling. Overall, parents should homeschool their children because it is the better option of schooling, and today I explain why it is the better option. The reason why it is better is because it attends to children's needs on a personal level. Homeschooling focuses on learning, not grades, and homeschooling creates a safer learning environment than traditional schooling. If you want to help increase the number of children being homeschooled, you can visit the Homeschool Legal Defense Association website and go onto their About page to learn more about it and see how they are trying to improve homeschooling and how you can help improve it too. The Homeschool Legal Defense Association is a nonprofit organization established to defend and advance the constitutional rights of parents to direct the upbringing and education of their children. Hopefully you now realize why homeschooling is the better option of schooling. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Dolphins.
You said there are different states with different qualifications. What are the qualifications for the state of California to be a homeschool teacher? Is there a test or a license or what is it?
I'm not exactly sure. I think you might have to have some type of license to be or to probably like graduate college, graduate high school, like a high school diploma. I'm sure you have to have that. I don't think you need to like go to like a college or get like some type of like exact degree. And maybe
But you don't know for sure.
I'm not for sure though. Yes, Abby.
How it increases like a parent's bond with the child. Don't you think that public school kind of creates like a space where the parents would get like their own personal space because parents bonding would create kind of I don't know how to
Yeah, I can understand how that can be, but some families, I don't know, I feel like they need that extra bond because they may not have that. They just need that extra time to be together and just interact with each other, and I think that'll bring them closer. Yes.
When back to what Abby said, when you were talking about how it can help them to their bond, but maybe parents need a little bit time to themselves, and like I think I stated as well, how if they're too close, then the child might become too dependent on the parent. How do you think?
I understand how like a parent they can't be too close or else the child will be dependent. But it also there's so many positive effects to like homeschooling your child. I think that like overweighs the negative effects because it overweighs them. Yes, Mr.
You
Dolphins.
homeschool the chillins? Is that what you're saying? Nikki, you love the arguments. My question is, why are you here? It sounds like you should be in a homeschool environment would be so much better for you. Why are you not homeschooled?
Well, for me personally, I don't think homeschooling was the best option for me just because I enjoy being in a regular school and I don't need homeschooling. I feel like homeschooling personally would be the best option for someone who would need it. Like they're just having troubles at school or their parents really want them to, but I wasn't in that situation where I needed to be homeschooled.
Okay, do you think more parents should homeschool their kids or should not homeschool their kids? So look at that question up there.
Well, I mean, personally, I don't think parents should homeschool their kids, but for the argument, I mean, I do think they should. But, like, I feel like there may be, like, some negative effects to homeschooling. That's just me personally. But I can still argue why.
Okay.
Oh, Lincoln.
That homeschooling a child throughout high school, throughout their entire, we'll just say as a minor, under 18, do you think that that doesn't prepare them for college or real life, really?
High school, I think it would be good to bring them to real high school so they can prepare for college. Yes or no?
Do you think that private schools would give them like the better like attention they need than homeschool?
With private school, I feel like private school could be a good option too because it's more individual, less students. But I think homeschool is still better just because it's even more individualized than that. It's still like one-on-one. Private school still has like a small amount of children there, not just one-on-one.
All right, let's call it there. Thank you. Nice job. Well, thank you.